The warning signals had been coming for months, but nobody wanted to believe them. Deep space monitoring stations across human territory picked up the same disturbing pattern. Alien ships were moving closer to Earth's borders every week. They claimed to be conducting routine exercises or scientific surveys, but Admiral Robert Hayes knew better. Hayes reviewed the latest intelligence reports in his office aboard Luna Station. The holographic displays showed 3 distinct fleet movements converging on human space from different directions. The Veldari Imperium approached from the galactic north with their massive warships painted in crimson and gold. Their military traditions stretched back thousands of years, and they viewed warfare as the highest form of art. From the east came the Synexi Collective with their sleek, silver vessels bristling with advanced technology. They believed logic and superior science gave them the right to rule over lesser species. The Morvani Federation moved up from the galactic south with their enormous trade ships that doubled as mobile fortresses. They conquered through economic pressure and overwhelming numbers. All 3 empires had one thing in common. They saw humanity as nothing more than lucky primitives who had stumbled into faster-than-light travel by accident. Earth controlled only 12 star systems compared to the hundreds claimed by each major power. Human ships were smaller and appeared less advanced. Most importantly, humans had never shown aggression toward their neighbors. The galaxy viewed this as weakness rather than restraint. Hayes touched a control and the display shifted to show recent encounters between human and alien vessels. Last week, a Valdari battlecruiser had entered the Centauri system claiming navigational error. The local patrol ship challenged them politely, and the aliens eventually left, but not before conducting detailed scans of the colony defenses. 2 days later, Synexi probe ships appeared near New Geneva and began mapping the asteroid mining facilities. When confronted, they cited scientific research protocols and departed only after completing their surveys. The Morvani had been even bolder, establishing an unauthorized trading post just outside the official border of human space. The door chimed, and Hayes looked up to see Captain Diana Torres entering his office. She had just returned from a deep space reconnaissance mission beyond the galactic rim. Her ship Horizon specialized in long-range exploration and intelligence gathering. Torres looked exhausted, but her eyes burned with urgency. "Admiral, we have a serious problem," she began without preamble. "The aliens aren't just planning to annex our territory. They're planning to wipe us out completely." Hayes gestured for her to continue. Torres activated her personal datapad and transferred files to the room's main display. Images appeared showing devastated worlds and empty star systems. "I found 3 separate sites where smaller civilizations used to exist," Torres explained. "The Kethran Republic, the Zolani Commonwealth, and the free worlds of Arcturus. All of them refused to submit to the galactic empires. All of them are gone now." The images were horrifying. Planets stripped of their atmospheres. Space habitats reduced to scattered debris. Entire species extinct. Hayes had suspected the aliens were ruthless, but this evidence exceeded his worst fears. "How long ago did this happen?" he asked. "The most recent was 6 months ago." The Zolani tried to negotiate for partial autonomy like we've been doing. The response was complete orbital bombardment followed by systematic hunting of survivors. "The aliens don't just want our territory, Admiral. They want to make an example of any species that dares to claim independence." Hayes stood and walked to the observation window overlooking Earth. The blue marble hung in space, surrounded by the sprawling infrastructure of Luna City and the orbital defense platforms. Millions of humans lived and worked in this system alone. The thought of them sharing the fate of those extinct civilizations made his blood run cold. "What's our current defensive status?" he asked. Torres consulted her pad. "Patrol fleets are at normal readiness. The outer colonies have basic defense satellites and small garrison forces. Most of our heavy ships are concentrated here at Sol and the core worlds. Standard doctrine assumes any threat would come as a direct assault rather than this creeping encroachment we're seeing. That doctrine assumed we were dealing with honorable enemies who would declare their intentions openly. These empires prefer to strangle their victims slowly. Hayes turned back to face Torres. I want you to brief President Santos and the Planetary Council immediately. They need to see this evidence. What about our response, Admiral? The aliens are clearly testing our resolve. Each violation becomes bolder than the last. Hayes considered carefully before answering. For generations, human leaders had chosen diplomacy and restraint when dealing with the galactic powers. Earth's colonies were small and peaceful. Human. Ships carried exploration equipment rather than heavy weapons. The entire human military was designed for defense rather than conquest. But perhaps it was time for the galaxy to learn that peaceful did not mean helpless. Contact Dr. Reed at Defense. Research? Tell him to accelerate all classified projects immediately. If the aliens want to test human resolve, they're going to get more than they bargained for. He paused and looked out at Earth again. Also, send word to all fleet commanders. Any alien vessel entering human space without authorization is to be challenged immediately. If they refuse to leave, they are to be escorted out by force. Torres nodded and headed for the door, but Hayes called her back. Diana, one more thing. Start preparing detailed files on alien fleet movements and military capabilities. If this situation escalates to open conflict, we'll need every advantage we can get. The aliens think they know humanity, but they've only seen our peaceful side. It's time they learned what humans are really capable of when we're fighting for our survival. After Torres left, Hayes remained at the window for a long time. Somewhere out there, alien commanders were planning the destruction of everything he had sworn to protect. They saw humans as weak because humanity had chosen peace over aggression. That choice was about to change. The galaxy was going to discover that the most dangerous predator was often the one that appeared harmless until threatened. The storm was gathering and Earth would be ready. President Maria Santos reviewed the emergency briefing documents for the third time that morning. The evidence Captain Torres had presented to the Planetary Council was undeniable. 3 extinct civilizations served as a grim preview of Earth's fate if the galactic empires had their way. The Global Assembly had voted unanimously for immediate defensive measures, but Santos knew preparation alone would not be enough. The violations were escalating daily. Valdari ships now conducted navigation exercises deep inside human territory while their weapon systems remained suspiciously active. Synexi research vessels appeared overnight near populated worlds and began intensive scanning operations before human patrols could respond. The Morvani had grown bold enough to establish permanent installations on asteroids that technically belonged to Earth. Santos called for Commander Alex Turner to join the meeting. Turner headed the diplomatic corps and had spent years trying to build relationships with alien governments. His reports from recent negotiations painted a disturbing picture of galactic politics. Madam President, the aliens aren't even pretending to respect our sovereignty anymore, Turner reported. I filed formal complaints through every available channel. The response has been uniform dismissal and barely concealed contempt. Give me specifics, Alex. Turner activated his presentation screen showing recordings from his recent trip to Nexus Station, the galactic capital. Delegate Prime Vorthak of the Valdari actually laughed when I mentioned our territorial rights. He said, "Lesser species have no business claiming entire star systems for themselves." According to him, humans should be grateful to receive any territory at all under alien protection. The recording showed a massive reptilian creature with ceremonial armor and an arrogant expression. Vorthak's translated words dripped with condescension as he dismissed human concerns. The Synexi were more polite but equally dismissive, Turner continued. Collective Speaker Zarin informed me that primitive species often experience confusion about their actual capabilities. She suggested humans would be much happier once we accepted our proper place in galactic civilization. Santos watched the pale, ethereal alien explain patiently why humanity needed supervision like children who didn't understand the dangers of playing with advanced technology. The Morvani at least pretended to negotiate. Trade Minister Gorvak offered to purchase our entire territory at what he called a generous price. When I explained that Earth was not for sale, he seemed genuinely confused. He kept insisting that everything has a price and humans simply lack the wisdom to recognize good business opportunities. The final recording showed an enormous creature that resembled a cross between a bear and an octopus. Gorvak's multiple eyes blinked in sequence while his tentacles gestured dismissively at Turner's protests. "What's your assessment, Commander? Are they preparing for immediate invasion?" "They're preparing for conquest, but not the kind we expected. All three empires believe humans will surrender without serious resistance once we see their overwhelming force. They plan to divide our territory between themselves and relocate our population to designated reservation worlds." Santos felt anger building in her chest. The aliens spoke about humanity like livestock to be managed rather than people with rights and dignity. She turned to the wall screen showing real-time fleet positions throughout human space. "Admiral Hayes, what's our current status?" Hayes appeared via secure communication link from Luna Station. "All patrol fleets are on high alert. Dr. Reed's defense projects are moving to final testing phase. The aliens don't know it yet, but we've been preparing for this scenario longer than they realize." "Explain." "Madam President, human military doctrine has always assumed we would face technologically superior enemies. Our entire defense strategy focuses on asymmetric warfare using speed, stealth, and unconventional tactics. The aliens expect us to fight like they do with massive fleets and direct confrontation. They're going to be very surprised." Santos nodded grimly. "Commander Turner, I want you to send one final message through diplomatic channels. Make sure all three empires receive it simultaneously." Turner prepared his recording equipment while Santos gathered her thoughts. This message would likely be humanity's last attempt at peaceful resolution. After this, there would only be actions and consequences. "Leaders of the Valdari Imperium, Senexi Collective, and Morvani Federation," Santos began. "The United Terran government formally demands the immediate cessation of all unauthorized activities in human territory. Your ships will withdraw beyond the established borders within 72 hours. Any vessel found in violation after that deadline will be treated as a hostile force and dealt with accordingly." She paused to let the weight of her words sink in before continuing. "For generations, humanity has chosen peace over conflict. We have respected your territories and honored our agreements. We have asked only for the same courtesy in return. Your recent actions demonstrate that courtesy was a mistake. Consider this your final warning." After Turner transmitted the message, Santos called an emergency session of the Global Assembly. Representatives from every Earth colony and orbital habitat gathered via quantum link to hear her address. "Citizens of Earth, the galaxy has chosen to test our resolve. Three massive empires believe humanity will submit to their will rather than fight for our freedom. They see our peaceful nature as weakness and our restraint as cowardice. They are about to learn the difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war." The assembly erupted in cheers and applause. Santos waited for quiet before delivering her final statement. "Human space is sovereign territory. We will defend it with every weapon at our disposal and every ounce of strength in our bodies. Any alien force that enters our territory without permission will discover why. Earth's greatest export has always been warriors." Dr. Reed contacted Santos privately after her speech. "Madam President, all defensive systems are online. Project Defiance is ready for deployment. The aliens think they understand human technology, but they've only seen what we wanted them to see." "What kind of surprises are we talking about, Michael?" "The kind that will make them wish they had accepted our peaceful coexistence. Human engineering isn't as primitive as they believe. We just hide our capabilities better than they do." Within hours, alien responses began arriving. All three empires rejected humanity's ultimatum with barely concealed amusement. War leader Thenox of the Valdari promised to teach humans proper respect for their superiors. Collective Prime Nexus of the Synexi offered to spare human lives if Earth surrendered immediately. Trade Supreme Bolvac of the Morvani doubled his previous offer to purchase human territory before it lost all value. Santos read each response carefully before forwarding them to Admiral Hayes, the aliens had made their choice. Now humanity would show them the consequences. The 72-hour deadline began counting down while human fleets moved to intercept positions throughout the outer territories. The galaxy was about to learn that pushing humans too far was a very dangerous mistake. War leader Thanox studied the tactical display aboard his flagship Crimson Glory with growing anticipation. His battle squadron consisted of 12 heavy cruisers and 30 escort vessels, more than enough firepower to crush any resistance the human colony at New Montana could offer. Intelligence reports indicated the world possessed minimal defenses and a small patrol force of obsolete ships. The humans had issued their pathetic ultimatum 3 days ago, and Thanox intended to provide the perfect response. New Montana produced rare minerals essential for advanced electronics. Once the Valdari claimed the world, those resources would strengthen the Imperium while demonstrating human helplessness to the entire galaxy. War leader, we are approaching the target system, reported his tactical officer. Human patrol ships are moving to intercept, but maintaining defensive positions around the planet. Thanox examined the enemy formation with amusement. 6 small frigates and 2 outdated destroyers faced his overwhelming force. The human ships were arranged in a standard defensive screen that any military academy student could defeat. Their technology appeared decades behind Valdari standards, and their tactics seemed primitive. Open communication with the human commander. Let them witness proper military protocol before their destruction. The main screen activated, showing a young human female in a simple blue uniform. She appeared calm despite facing impossible odds. Her dark hair was pulled back efficiently, and her brown eyes showed no trace of fear. I am Captain Rachel Stone of the Terran Defense Force. You are in violation of human territorial sovereignty and are ordered to withdraw immediately. Thanox laughed loudly enough for his bridge crew to hear. I am War Leader Thanox of the Valdari. Imperium, your pathetic threats amuse me, human. Surrender your colony and submit to proper authority. Resistance will only increase your suffering. Stone's expression remained unchanged. War Leader Thanox, you have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal or my ships will open fire. The audacity stunned Thanox into momentary silence. 8 primitive vessels threatening a force 6 times their size required either incredible courage or complete insanity. He decided humans were simply too stupid to understand their situation. Tactical, prepare to demonstrate Valdari power. Destroy the lead human vessel, but leave the others intact. I want survivors to spread word of this defeat throughout human space. War leader, the humans are breaking formation. They appear to be executing some kind of attack pattern. Thanox watched with interest as the human ships accelerated toward his fleet at maximum velocity. Their approach vectors made no tactical sense. Instead of maintaining defensive positions or attempting to escape, they were charging directly into his superior firepower. Foolish primitives. They think courage can overcome technology. Begin firing when they enter weapons range. The Valdari guns opened fire as the human ships closed distance. Crimson energy beams lanced out toward the approaching vessels, but something impossible happened. The human ships seemed to predict exactly where each shot would hit and altered course at the last possible moment. Missile salvos that should have destroyed entire vessels passed harmlessly through empty space. How are they doing that? Demanded Thanox, unknown war leader. Their ships appeared to be equipped with some form of precognitive targeting system. The human vessels continued their impossible dance through Valdari weapons fire while closing to point-blank range. Then they opened fire with weapons that defied everything Thanox thought he knew about human technology. Instead of energy beams, the humans used projectiles that seemed to punch through Valdari shields like they weren't there. War leader, the destroyer Swift Death has lost main power. The cruiser Iron Fist is reporting massive hull breaches. How are human weapons penetrating our defenses? Before Thanox could respond, the human ships executed another impossible maneuver. 2 frigates working in perfect coordination used their own vessels as kinetic weapons, ramming Valdari cruisers at full velocity. Both human ships were destroyed in the collision, but they took their targets with them. As the frigates died, their crews broadcast defiant war cries that chilled Thanox to his bones. "Humans don't value their own lives," whispered his communications officer. "They're willing to die just to hurt us." The remaining human ships pressed their attack with terrifying intensity. They fought like demons, using tactics no civilized species would consider. When a human destroyer lost its main weapons, it rammed another Valdari cruiser. When human frigates ran out of ammunition, they used their hulls as weapons. Most disturbing of all was their coordination. The human ships moved like a single organism, anticipating each other's actions and combining their efforts with impossible precision. Valdari doctrine emphasized individual ship combat, but the humans fought as a unified force that multiplied their effectiveness exponentially within 20 minutes. Thanox's superior force was in full retreat. Half his ships were destroyed or crippled while the surviving human vessels pursued them toward the system edge. The humans could have annihilated his entire fleet, but instead they stopped at the border and waited. Captain Stone's image appeared on his screen again. "War Leader Thanox, you are leaving human space. Do not return. This isn't over, human. The Imperium will not tolerate this humiliation." "Yes, it is over. Tell your leaders what happened here. Tell them humans keep their promises." As his damaged fleet limped away from New Montana, Thanox tried to understand what had gone wrong. Superior numbers and technology should have guaranteed victory, but the humans had advantages he never expected. They fought with a combination of skill, courage, and ruthlessness that surpassed anything in Valdari military history. Meanwhile, Captain Stone coordinated rescue operations for surviving Valdari crews. Human ships that had been trying to kill aliens minutes earlier now risked themselves to save enemy lives. The contradictions made no sense to Thanox. "War Leader, why are they saving our people?" asked his tactical officer. "I don't know. Perhaps humans are even more alien than we thought." The news of Valdari defeat spread across the galaxy within hours. Similar disasters befell Synexi stealth fleets and Morvani invasion forces throughout human territory. Advanced alien technology proved useless. Against human tactics, and human weapons exceeded all performance estimates. Admiral Hayes broadcast from Luna Station to every major population center in known space. "The galactic empires have tested human resolve and found it unbreakable. This engagement was educational. Future violations will be terminal." Across 3 empires, military leaders struggled to explain how primitive humans had defeated their finest forces. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted in a single day, and nobody understood how it happened. War Leader Thanox sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical recordings of the battle. Somewhere in those images lay the secret of human military capability. The primitives had revealed technologies and tactics that shouldn't exist. More importantly, they had demonstrated a willingness to die for their beliefs that no civilized species could match. For the first time in his career, Thanox wondered if the Valdari Imperium had made a terrible mistake. Supreme Admiral Korvaxi of the Valdari Imperium had never felt such rage in his 3 centuries of military service. The humiliation at New Montana burned in his chest like molten metal. Individual defeats could be explained by luck or tactical errors, but the humans had systematically destroyed elite forces from all 3 galactic empires. Something fundamental had changed, and Korvaxi intended to crush this human rebellion before it spread to other species. The Emergency War Council convened aboard the massive command station Nexus Prime in neutral space. For the first time in galactic history, the 3 great powers set aside their ancient rivalries to face a common threat. Elite constructor Thrinix of the Synexi Collective materialized as a shimmering hologram, while Trade Lord Vashek of the Morvani Federation attended via quantum link from his mobile fortress. "The human problem requires immediate solution," Thrinix announced in his synthesized voice. "Our individual forces underestimated primitive capabilities. Combined Imperial might will demonstrate proper galactic order." Vashek's massive form shifted uncomfortably on the display screen. "Agreed. Human resistance threatens established trade relationships throughout the outer sectors. Several client species have begun questioning our protection arrangements since news of our defeat spread. Korvaxi reviewed the tactical summaries from recent engagements. Human weapons and tactics exceeded all previous intelligence estimates. Their ships moved faster than should be possible, and their weapons hit harder than their size suggested. Most disturbing was their apparent willingness to sacrifice themselves for tactical advantage. "The humans must be destroyed completely," Korvaxi declared. "Partial victory will only encourage other species to rebel. We will assemble the largest armada in galactic history and reduce every human world to radioactive ash." Threenix processed this proposal through his quantum matrix, acceptable parameters. The Synexi Collective will contribute 4,000 vessels, including our most advanced dreadnoughts and battle carriers. The Morvani Federation commits 3,000 ships plus support vessels, added Vashek. Our industrial capacity can provide unlimited supplies and reinforcements. Korvaxi smiled grimly. The Valdari Imperium will lead this crusade with 3,000 warships, including my personal command vessel Annihilation. Total combined force exceeds 10,000 vessels, representing the military might of 3 civilizations. The logistics alone staggered the imagination. Never before had so many ships operated under unified command. The assembled fleet would stretch across multiple star systems and carry enough firepower to sterilize entire worlds. No force in galactic history could stand against such overwhelming power. Within 6 weeks, the Great Armada gathered at the edge of human space like a metal storm cloud. Korvaxi stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying sensor readings from the human territories. Their pathetic defensive installations wouldn't delay the inevitable for more than a few hours. "Supreme Admiral, we are receiving a transmission." "From Earth," reported his communications officer. "Put it through. I want to hear human desperation before we begin their extinction." The main screen activated, showing a middle-aged human male in a crisp military uniform. Admiral Hayes appeared calm despite facing impossible odds. Behind him, through the observation windows, massive Earth ships could be seen moving into formation. "Supreme Admiral Korvaxi, I am Admiral Robert Hayes of the Terran Defense Force. Your fleet has entered human territorial space without authorization. You have 72 hours to withdraw beyond the established borders." The audacity left Korvaxi speechless. For several seconds, even facing annihilation, the humans maintained their arrogant demands. He activated the reply channel to deliver his final ultimatum. "Admiral Hayes, your species stands at the edge of extinction. Surrender immediately and some human lives may be spared for labor purposes. Continue this futile resistance and every human world will burn." Hayes' expression never changed. "Supreme Admiral, your offer is rejected. Human space is sovereign territory. Leave now or face the consequences of your trespass. You face 10,000 ships human. Your entire fleet numbers less than 500 obsolete vessels. What consequences could your primitive forces possibly threaten? You're about to find out, Supreme Admiral. In exactly 72 hours you will understand why humans prefer peace over war." The transmission ended, leaving Korvaxi staring at empty space. The human admiral had shown no fear, no desperation, no recognition of his hopeless situation. Either humans were too primitive to understand mathematics, or they possessed hidden capabilities that defied all intelligence estimates. "Begin systematic. Advance into human territory," Korvaxi ordered. "Destroy any resistance and prepare for orbital bombardment of all inhabited worlds." The Great Armada moved forward like an unstoppable tide of destruction. Advanced scouts reported minimal human fleet activity and only light defensive installations. Everything appeared exactly as intelligence predicted, except for one disturbing detail. "Supreme Admiral, our sensors are detecting massive energy readings throughout human space, but we cannot identify the sources. The readings appear to be coming from empty space." Korvaxi studied the tactical display with growing unease. Phantom energy signatures suggested the humans had deployed some form of stealth technology, but none of their previous encounters had indicated such capabilities. Exactly 72 hours after Admiral Hayes delivered his warning, the human response began. Space itself seemed to explode around the advancing alien fleet as hidden weapons platforms revealed themselves throughout the system. Cloaked minefields activated in perfect coordination while concealed missile batteries opened fire from asteroids. And debris fields. The aliens found themselves trapped in a carefully prepared killing field. Human defensive planning had turned their superior numbers into a tactical nightmare. The massive fleet became a target-rich environment where every shot was guaranteed to hit something valuable. How did they hide so many installations? Demanded Korvaxia's explosions blossomed throughout his formation. Unknown Supreme Admiral. Human stealth technology appears far more advanced than our intelligence indicated. The battle that followed defied every principle of civilized warfare. Human ships fought with desperate intensity, using their vessels as weapons when conventional armaments failed. Damaged human frigates rammed alien dreadnoughts while their crews broadcast defiant battle songs. Crippled human destroyers overloaded their reactors to take out multiple enemy vessels. Most shocking of all was human pilot performance. The aliens had superior ships and weapons, but human crews somehow endured acceleration forces that should have killed them. They executed maneuvers that violated basic physics while maintaining perfect formation, discipline under impossible conditions. Their pilots are sustaining 15 gravities of acceleration, reported the sensor officer in disbelief. Those forces should liquefy organic tissue. How are they surviving? Demanded Threenix over the command channel. Korvaxi had no answer. Everything about human capability exceeded previous estimates. Their technology was more advanced, their tactics more innovative, and their courage more absolute than any species. In galactic history, the battle raged for 3 days without pause. Korvaxi watched his overwhelming numerical advantage erode as human defensive systems extracted a terrible price for every kilometer of advance. The aliens had expected easy conquest but found themselves fighting for survival against an enemy that refused to break. By the end of the 3rd day, the Great Armada lay in ruins. Less than 1,000 ships escaped the human defensive network, while nearly 9,000 vessels were destroyed or captured. The combined might of 3 galactic empires had been shattered by a species they considered primitive. Admiral Hayes appeared on every surviving alien ship, simultaneously as their fleets retreated in disorder. Supreme Admiral Korvaxi, your invasion has failed. Human territory remains sovereign. This was your education in human capabilities. Any future aggression will result in human fleets visiting your homeworlds. Korvaxi stared at the transmission in stunned silence. The humans had not only defeated the largest armada in galactic history, but they threatened counterattack against the Empire homeworlds. For the first time in his long career, he felt genuine fear. The emergency session of the Galactic Coalition convened in chaos aboard Nexus Station as reports flooded in from across known space. The impossible had happened. Humanity had not only survived the greatest military assault in galactic history, but had utterly destroyed the combined fleets of 3 empires. Delegate representatives from dozens of species gathered in shocked silence while their carefully ordered universe collapsed around them. Supreme Admiral Korvaxi sat in the prisoner transport section of the human vessel Defiance, still unable to comprehend his complete defeat. Elite Constructor Threenix existed as a backup consciousness in human computer systems after his primary form was destroyed. Trade Lord Vashek occupied a specially reinforced holding cell designed for his massive bulk. All 3 empire leaders had become prisoners of the species they had tried to exterminate. Admiral Hayes reviewed the final casualty reports from the battle. Of the 10,000 alien ships that had entered human space, fewer than 800 had escaped to tell the tale. The debris fields would take decades to clear, and the rescue operations were still ongoing. Most surprising of all was the human response to their overwhelming victory. Admiral, the medical teams are requesting additional supplies for alien survivors, reported Captain Torres. We're treating over 50,000 wounded prisoners from the defeated fleets. Hayes nodded approvingly. Even in total victory, humanity maintained its moral principles. The aliens had come to commit genocide, but human crews risked their lives to save enemy wounded. Such behavior completely contradicted every assumption the galaxy had made about human nature. The real shock came in the aftermath as news of human victory spread throughout known space. Species that had suffered under imperial rule for generations began rising against their oppressors. The myth of galactic empire invincibility died in. The debris fields of human space, and with it the fear that kept smaller civilizations enslaved. Dr. Reed contacted Hayes from the research station orbiting Mars. Admiral, we're receiving surrender offers from over 30 Imperial client species. They want to ally with Earth for protection against potential retaliation. What's our response? Michael? President Santos has authorized limited protection agreements, but only for species willing to renounce aggressive expansion. We're not interested in building our own empire, but we won't allow the existing empires to punish those who seek freedom. The implications staggered Hayes. Humanity had accidentally triggered a galactic revolution, simply by refusing to surrender to alien demands. The established order that had ruled space for millennia was crumbling as suppressed. Civilizations demanded the same freedom Earth had fought to protect. On Nexus Station, the Coalition representatives struggled to maintain order as their authority evaporated. Delegate Prime Vorthak of the Valdari tried to rally support for continued resistance, but his words fell on deaf ears. The other species had seen what happened to those who challenged human resolve. The humans must be contained, Vorthak declared desperately. Their victory will inspire chaos throughout civilized space. Civilized space? The question came from Ambassador Caliph of the Andrari Republic, a species that had been enslaved by the Valdari for 3 centuries. You call systematic oppression and genocide civilized? The humans have shown us what true civilization looks like. Similar confrontations erupted throughout the Coalition chambers as former victims challenged their oppressors openly for the first time. The careful balance of power that had maintained galactic stability was gone forever. Admiral Hayes transmitted his message directly to the Coalition Assembly from the Bridge of Defiance. Behind him, the 3 captured Empire leaders sat under guard as living proof of human capability. Representatives of the Galactic Coalition, the age of imperial expansion is over. For too long, your empires have ruled through fear and intimidation. You have crushed civilizations that sought only peaceful existence. You have committed genocide against species whose only crime was refusing to submit to your authority. He gestured toward the prisoners behind him. These leaders came to human space with 10,000 ships intent on destroying our entire civilization. They failed. Their fleets are destroyed and their military might is broken, but humanity does not seek revenge or conquest. The chamber fell completely silent as Hayes continued his address. The terms for future peace are simple and non-negotiable. All 3 empires will immediately cease expansion and begin paying reparations to species they have wronged. Human space is declared permanently off-limits to all alien military forces. Any attempt at retaliation will result in human fleets visiting the home worlds of the aggressor. Vorthak stood shakily to protest. You cannot dictate terms to the entire galaxy human. Our combined industrial might exceeds your capacity to enforce such demands. Hayes smiled coldly. Delegate Vorthak, your combined military might just try to destroy humanity and failed completely. Would you like to test our defensive capabilities against your industrial centers? The threat hung in the air like a sword. Every being in the chamber understood that humans had demonstrated the ability to back up their words with overwhelming force. The question was whether the empires would accept the new reality or force humanity to demonstrate their offensive capabilities. President Santos delivered the final address to the assembled galaxy via quantum transmission from Earth. Behind her, the blue marble hung in space, surrounded by the defensive platforms that had helped break imperial power forever. Citizens of the galaxy, humanity sought only peace and the right to exist among the stars. We explored, we traded, we shared our knowledge freely with any who asked. In return, you demanded our submission, and when we refused, you came to destroy us. Her voice carried the weight of absolute conviction as she continued. We did not choose this war, but we finished it decisively. The galaxy has seen what humans can accomplish when defending our homes and families. You do not want to discover what we can do when taking the offensive." She paused to let her words sink in before delivering humanity's final ultimatum. "From this day forward, human space is sovereign territory protected by human strength. Any empire or species that threatens our people or allies will face the full weight of human military might. We prefer peace, but we are prepared for war." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. Within hours, alien refugees began arriving at human colonies seeking sanctuary from imperial oppression. Former slaves and conquered peoples flocked to Earth's protection as the old order collapsed. Admiral Hayes stood on the observation deck of Luna Station watching transport ships arrive from across known space. The age of galactic empires was ending, and humanity had become the unlikely guardian of freedom for countless species. Captain Torres joined him at the window. "Admiral, we're receiving reports that 17 more species have declared independence from imperial rule. They're all requesting protection agreements with Earth." Hayes nodded thoughtfully. "Diana, 50 years ago, humanity was alone in the galaxy. We thought we needed to prove ourselves worthy of galactic acceptance. Instead, we discovered that the galaxy needed to prove itself worthy of human respect. The final irony was not lost on either of them. In trying to destroy humanity, the empires had created the very force that would ultimately replace them." Earth's final warning echoed across 1,000 worlds as the galaxy entered a new age where freedom mattered more than strength and compassion carried more weight than conquest. The age of empires was over. The age of human protection had begun.